Radio 1 FM 90.
Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Hello, good evening. You're welcome to Spectrum on Radio 1. My name is Edmond, Kizito, your host. On Spectrum tonight, on Friday panel reviewing events of this week. What will we be looking at? The troubles in the church, stinging revelations by Catholic priest Father Anthony Musala this week have opened up debate about immorality in churches, and if at all it is time for the institution to open up for public scrutiny and also take responsibility for mistakes or abuses that have been committed. Also, the Talo Oil Museveni bribery allegations. A court battle between Talo Oil and Heritage Oil brought up froth, saying the president, Talo considered bribing the president or paying for his campaign. The president has asked them to apologize. They have actually apologized. The chief executive, Aiden Heavy, apologized 2 days ago. We'll also talk about the NRM rebels. This week, court ruled that NRM legislators must submit before the party. So now the party has more firepower to deal with them. These MPs are accused of being errant and constantly opposing agreed party positions. We shall look at the options available to these so-called rebel MPs and the party and what could happen. Also, the death of Chinua Achebe, the renowned Nigerian author Chinua Achebe, behind the legendary and much heralded Things Fall Apart novel and several other pieces of literature, has died aged 82 in Boston of the US of America. The cause of the death is still unknown, but we know that Chinua Achebe, who is revered as the father of African literature, he never won the Nobel Peace Prize. Very curious. Nobel Literature Prize. Very, very curious. We will talk about that. Our guests tonight. Dr. David Mushabe, senior partner at the Mushabe, Munungu and Company Advocates. You're most welcome, Dr. Mushabe.
Thank you, Edmond. Good evening, listeners and viewers.
Expect to be joined by another doctor, Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha, head of the Peace and Security Program at ACODE, also a lecturer of Peace and Conflict Studies at Makerere University. We expect him to join us shortly. And another lecturer, Imam Kasozi, is a Muslim cleric and lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda. They will be with us in a very short while. You can join this discussion by sending us a text message on 7197 or accessing the Facebook page for Spectrum Debate and sending us your questions or comments. Dr. David, these allegations about revealed in the church, you know that Father Musala wrote a dossier saying that the church is living in self-denial and that many priests have long broken their celibacy vows. They're not supposed to marry, but he says they've been marrying and having children, starting families. He also argues that to save them from making such mistakes again, the church should consider allowing them to actually get married openly. He warns that the secrecy with which the church is handling some controversial issues, including the abuse of children by priests, will lead to more embarrassment. Now, similar shocking revelations are also being reported in other fellowships, not just the Catholic Church. So, do you think these allegations are true? Are there things murder in the cathedral, like they say, among other things?
Well, Edmond, I think Father Musala is talking about a public secret. For a long time, the sheep in the congregation have always seen things, heard things, but oftentimes the followers or the congregation is afraid to appear blasphemous, because these are perceived to be men of God in the service of God. And then when you start saying priest so and so, pastor so and so, father so and so has done this, there is an immediate shock in the public. Some people might perceive you as somebody who is not a committed Christian, but we know that these things have been going on for a long time. The victims, in most cases, they just go underground and they keep quiet about it, because they know that none, if any, will believe that these things happened to them and were committed against them by the same men of God, or men and women of God. But I think that probably the Catholic Church, I'm not competent to debate or discuss how the Catholic Church should be holding or running their church. But I know that in the old days, some popes were married and they had children. Even some of their children became popes. They succeeded on their thrones.
They had some papal dynasties.
Yes. Other popes had children who became kings in Europe. I don't know at what point it changed, and to become a pope or a reverend father, you had to be celibate and no marriage at all. But my interpretation of St. Paul's advice was, I think he gave two options. One, that if you want to serve God, but you know that marriage will hinder your service or hamper your service to God and your commitment to God, then you better not get married. But if you can get married and still serve God to your fullest, then do so. I think that's where John Calvin and who is the other gentleman? John Calvin, one started the Anglican Church, another one the Presbyterian Church, Martin Luther King, John Calvin. That, I think those were some of the issues where they had to decide to break out from the Catholic Church, because it seemed that some section of the Catholic Church was insisting that no, you have to be celibate if you want to serve God. There are no two ways about it, no options. And Martin Luther and John Calvin said no. But the verse, according to St. Paul, he was providing options. I think at the end of the day, we have to admit that we are human beings, and even our priests and pastors and reverend fathers, they are still in this world and they are wearing these bodies. So I think this is a time where probably the Catholic Church and the new Pope, he chose a good name, I forgot. Pope Francis. I think this is one of the issues he's going to grapple with. He will have probably to table emotion in his church to decide whether or not marriage should be allowed. But I think Father Musala is a brave man, because how many fathers have talked about it? Almost none. You don't talk about something that is going to ruffle feathers of your peers and even your superiors. So I think, to me, I give him credit, and there are not so many people who speak the truth in the world. Normally when you speak the truth, you become the villain, you become the wrong guy, and then the other guys become you become the man to shoot. Yes, you become the man to shoot. You are the odd man out. So I think I commend Father Musala. I think the church should take responsibility and address these mistakes. Look, I think it is the Los Angeles Archdiocese which recently agreed to pay out billions of dollars to victims of
pedophile priests.
The pedophile victims. People are still traumatized. These were altar boys, and they seemed like, from the audience or from the church, in the congregation, I think many young boys would covet being altar boys. Yet those who are there felt trapped, and the things which were going on they could not verbalize or even report outside. I think this is high time that our leaders in the Catholic Church address this issue and probably consider allowing the priests to marry.
Is it that bad? Give us do you know the priest, for instance, who has a family, and how do they do it? The Catholic priests specifically.
Oh, of course, I have known some, but Edmond, I don't mention names.
Give us a scenario. He has his wife in the community, but he lives on the hill, and he wears his robes, and in the evening he goes down, and so on. The woman goes in to repent her sins, and she says, give us a synopsis, an outline of what.
I have known of some individuals who have had, actually not even one, but several wives in the villages, and they support them. At least those that have known, they have
But
support.
how do they resurrect them? They don't have a lot of time. They are serving God. And
No, they have to go to the parishioners and what is it called? Okulambula, Abakristai. You just go visit the parishioners and see, yeah, and counsel them.
they fry some fish
And remember, there are counseling sessions
at the church.
yeah, those counseling sessions are very tricky. If you are not a strong person, you might find yourself actually doing more than counseling. You go from mental counseling to physical counseling. So there were some priests when I was growing up in the Masaka area. There are some priests that were very well known to be having families in the villages, but it was a hush thing. You couldn't make it public.
Imam Kasozi, none of this has been splattered to the Muslim faith. So let's leave the Muslim faith out. Let's talk about the church. What do you read in these kind of allegations, specifically about Catholic Church, Father Musala?
Thank you very much. I don't speak for the Catholic Church, but I will give my mind, my personal view as a student of social science, particularly sociology. More often than not, things of this nature will continue to come, and especially if there is competition. Where there is competition and people are competing, they have to cause certain things to happen so that either to attract or to discredit the others. Father Musale, as he has put it, he could have been brave, but I think it also took him long, if it is true what he's saying. He should have realized this early enough and said it, or he should have chosen probably to keep quiet. What I don't agree with many people is to pin the church. These are individuals.
Some people think they are running after him. They are going to pin him shortly, so he preempted them.
I don't know.
That there were allegations that were coming up against.
Many things will come out.
Incidentally, Father Musala was supposed to join us this evening for this show. He had confirmed yesterday,
Yes.
but though we were unable to reach him, he did not respond to any of our phone calls, but he was supposed to be here with us.
Yeah, because I have seen this. I have followed this. So many comments. Actually, I think, read over 1,000 mails over this very issue on Ugandans at heart. Even it has come into our other discussion group, which is called Uganda Muslim Brothers and Sisters. We have a discussion forum. I follow this. Many of them, I have not made any comment. I am just reading to see what people are expressing. But the problem is, even the people who are expressing this, whether somebody is a sheikh, whether somebody, what we expect him is that he should be exemplary. That is actually the primary thing that leads you to when you are a leader, you are expected to be exemplary in all aspects of life that you are involved in. But the commitment some people make are so big that they are not easily attainable. That's why I think certain situations emerge.
You think they should marry?
I don't want to say I don't want to say that they should. I don't want to say that they should marry. But I want to say,
So let's get some contrast here. Before you can get number for 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you look at this man who's around, even a young woman. Doesn't that sound strange?
no, you see, humans.
You can take
human beings.
one.
No, let me tell you. That's why I'm telling you. That is, I don't know what sacrifice I can call it.
Yes.
Because we are very certain, all of us are human beings and are normal, okay? At a certain stage, somebody has to...
You will desire conjugation.
Yes. So when it happens, what happens is actually the biggest challenge. But what I don't want people, I don't want to open this box of what?
Theology.
No. The word has gone.
Pandora's
box. I don't want to open that one. Because individuals are individuals. Let us hold the individuals who are responsible for this, but not the institution. Unless the institution knew...
Unless it's 75%.
No, unless the institution knew or it knows and it is shielding it. That's where the problem is. So, what we expect from Father Musale is to be also sincere to himself and come out and say, I have said this because ABCD has happened. For me, my contribution is this. Okay, I have done this, but I as a human being, I find that I can't go beyond. So, withdraw from the church, maybe repent to your Almighty, okay, and then say that I committed myself to something I cannot do, and through it I have made these mistakes. I belong to the Muslim faith. The Islamic faith is very clear that human beings must make mistakes, but the best is that one who repents to his Almighty, because nobody will tell you that he cannot make a mistake, but the gravity of the mistake, that's what matters. But for us,
the gravity of the mistake,
yes, for us who are
own up to it,
for us who are public people, public leaders, I always tell the people that the moment you go to the pulpit, the moment I come to this radio station every other Friday that you invite me and I come here and I say certain things, it means I have to control and guide my life, because out there are so many other ways. So that is the biggest challenge. That's why you see what you are saying. So what you have said, if it has occurred, it reveals the type of society we live in, and so many other things are there. So the many other issues have been raised, and what people only simply say, it is either deviant behavior or it is our way of life, or the world is changing. The world does not change to the worst. The world should be changing to the best, because they are talking of technological advancement and whatever they say that is better.
Technology doesn't change your heart. Doesn't make it good.
What about people's minds? The openness. And if, as he has said that he is brave, I want him to come up outwardly and say, show his braveness, that in the whole of this scenario, because I also belong to the same system, me, I committed ABCD. There are people out there who have not committed any mistake.
Okay.
Who have appreciated it and have taken it as their life.
Let's begin with Mushabe. To what extent do you think this is prevalent? Very briefly. Also tell us how we go from there. Should the church be policed by secular institutions, for instance?
Edmond, I know that the Catholic Church is not living in a secluded world of its own. Look at our own churches. Church of Uganda, the Pentecostal churches. Those are the ones where we often even read about their extramarital affairs, those scandals and all that. Yet these are men of God who have committed to serving God. But often now and then,
with purity,
the body struggles with the spirit. And so I wouldn't think that the Catholic Church is immune from that. So when Father Musale says that the church is living in self-denial, I believe him 100%. But my brother here said that Father Musale has come in too late. But in Africa, if you are wise enough and you have studied things, you don't speak when you are still a small fish. You must first gather some clout, have position in society, and then you speak. But if a nobody speaks, one, he won't be believable. Two, he will easily be destroyed by the negative forces. So me, I think, and my suspicion, and I hope I'm right, my suspicion is that Father Musale has been entertaining us, and
it passes a certain dance in his gown.
He's now a public figure. He's actually an international figure. I think this is the right time for him to stand up for something and say, look, we better stop this. This is wrong. So I think it is more prevalent than we can ever imagine.
What should we do? Should we have secular policing, secular institutions policing the church, the religious institutions? With the court, somebody just proposed a court here. We should have an ecclesiastical court or a religious court or something.
In the old days, those courts were there.
Religious police.
Yes, they were there. So I think probably the Vatican should come up with the police.
They still exist.
How did they do it? We know about what happened with Mufti Mubaje. Some people made allegations against him in the church. You had, at one time you had one Mufti mufti. Then a time came when you thought we should have another mufti.
No, you see, the openness you are talking about, any institution, any public institution should be open, okay? The difference is religious issues are sometimes so sensitive because religion is divided into two. There is what is dogma,
Yes.
what
Things we believe in.
you take it as it has come to you, and the purpose of religion is to help you answer certain things that are not easily explainable. It eases them, okay, like something occurring sudden, and then if you want to find a quicker solution, you can get it in a religion, because so that you can tell yourself the purpose is don't be overstressed, don't be so that you can cause more havoc. Okay,
I thought it was supposed to connect us to God.
And that connection is, that's why quickly you find a solution and say God has done it that way, and it eases your circumstances. But what I want to say,
Is it a creation of man or does it come from above?
In this instance,
Is it a creation of man or does it come from above?
which one?
The religion.
Religion is from above.
All right.
Every individual, including those who say that they have no religion, they have religion, because whatever you call their belief is what is their religion. Because I have told you, religion is what helps you to answer perplexing issues that emerge at a given time in your life.
We need to take a break. But before we do that, Dr. David.
Yes, Edmond, I have taken time to read some Christian theology, and I have found out that actually, when you read deeper, it is a sin to have your seed escape. And if I say seed, you know what I mean.
Yes.
And I know that
Your virility.
yes, and when you eat certain foods for a long time, the seed is likely to escape. So if it is a sin for the seed to be wasted and escape,
Find a receptacle for
and
it.
these brothers of ours in church are also eating, and their bodies respond to natural forces like we do, I presume that their seeds escape every now and then.
We have to go
So
back.
if that is a sin, why can't we curb it by making some allowance and say, look, then let us make
And some nice banana advice for them. Let's go for a break. We'll be back. This stay tuned.
Uganda Communications Commission is currently conducting nationwide mandatory SIM card registration. Register your SIM card in a few easy steps. Visit your telecom operator's customer care center or any other designated registration center and provide your phone number, a copy of a valid ID or any other valid ID with accompanying photograph such as a passport, driver's permit, voter's card, or a letter from your LC. Information on your physical address or residence will also be required. SIM card registration protects mobile phone users from incidences of fraud, incitement, terrorism, and hate messages, among others. Please note that SIM card registration is mandatory, and those who fail to register risk having their SIM cards deactivated. All information shall remain confidential. Let's make communication safe. Register your SIM card today.
So I'm chilling at home with my crew. The boys are waiting to watch the game on the telly, but the chicks want to go to the beach. So how do we play it? A glance across the room. Eye contact is made. A plan is hatched. Pete will get some sand. Lots of it. Jeff will take care of the deco, Tim the entertainment, and I the clubs. And so we bring the beach to the apartment. If we can't go to the beach, we bring the beach to us. It's just how we do.
It's not about where you're at. It's the difference you bring. Get a fresh take on things. Club is brewed longer for easier drinking. Brewed slower for great taste. Club, tastefully different. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18.
Excuse me, what is this 300 shillings on my bill for?
That is for the tinted candles, madam.
And this 100 shillings?
That is for the air conditioning.
And this 200 shillings?
For the blue walls, ma'am.
I can't believe this!
Why pay for what you don't use or ask for? That's why we at Standard Chartered are introducing the Easy Go account, the first current account of its kind that gives you complete control of your banking charges. For more details, visit a Standard Chartered branch or call 0414 340077.
Would you like to leave me a tip, please?
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum. Imam tonight, a Friday panel reviewing events of the week. Our guests, Imam Kasozi, Muslim Cleric, lecturer at the IUIU, that's the Islamic University in Uganda. Dr. David Mushabe, senior partner at the Mushabe Munungu and Company Advocates. We could not be joined by Father Musala. He was supposed to be here. We could not reach him in the end after confirming yesterday. Before we leave this issue of the troubles in the cathedral and other places and the mosque, probably, Dr. Mushabe, before we come to Imam, what kind of solutions? Some people have thought we should have a religious court. What kind of format would it take? And some people have also thought we should have an inquest in some of these abuses, human rights abuses.
Well, I think they should have their own internal disciplinary mechanism, but which is transparent. Because if it is an internal disciplinary mechanism that is so secretive, still the problems will subsist. But the question that came to my mind, Edmond, is if alcohol is allowed
in the church,
including
Guinness,
yes, if they can drink, if they can smoke, what is wrong with having one woman and be faithful with her or to her?
Catholic priests are allowed to drink alcohol.
Yes.
Catholic priests are allowed to smoke cigarettes. They can also smoke the pipe.
Yes.
A photograph where they showed two cardinals lighting up. They were sharing a cigarette lighter.
Exactly.
As they wanted to elect them.
And remember, alcohol impairs your thinking and also excites certain senses. So I think if they want probably to reduce this problem, one of the things they might have to tackle is alcohol out of the church. But I think this is a more complex issue, because if the initial popes, maybe the first,
not all of them,
maybe the first 20 popes around there, they married and all that, and somehow for hundreds of years there is no marriage, so it is not easy to roll back those hundreds of years.
Imam, what should we do?
You see, very simple. Who decreed that priests should not marry? That's the most important thing. Okay, if it is a real religious text with clear evidence, then. But if it was decided by human beings, then there was some lapsity.
They cannot support
in that.
Well, but the Bible talks about, gives an option. He outlined it earlier.
Yes.
Apostle Paul said you can marry. It's better if you don't marry, but you can marry for one.
Yeah, but I have told you that is a sacrifice that is so huge, which needs a very strong heart. Okay, issues of, because we are talking of marriage, we are talking of sex. That's why you will find that even a 12-year old child goes into sex.
Well, that's not normal. It's supposed to be.
You are saying that it is not normal. Therefore, somebody will tell you it's also not normal for if somebody who has accepted to serve God and he knows the terms of reference, and then he says, I cannot sustain it. He should have been faithful to himself, not to go there. The moment if he's there and he's doing it, therefore, he is deceiving himself. Because in the Quran, for example, God said that these certain people are there. They say that we believe in the Almighty when they come to the believers. But when they are not what? They are not lying to anybody. They are lying to themselves. So, the reality is, when this so-called brave man, has come out to dance a certain dance, he should also become very specific. And first of all, accept his personal weaknesses and failures, and then that's when many people will believe. Otherwise, the story is going to be very, very big, and many people will bring in many other issues. I cannot rule for other people's religion that go and get married. No, because that means I am interfering in their belief.
Maybe he has plans, maybe he doesn't. We don't know. We shall come.
Professor Yaranga was a father when he taught me at Makerere University.
Yes.
But he decided to get married. Oh. Yes, Professor Yaranga found a woman in Makerere.
Yes.
He married some Japanese woman.
A Japanese woman.
Yes. So he's there. So if you choose, if I don't know, if you choose, no, I don't think so. If you choose to do some work then accept. It's like we in the Islamic faith, okay? We are supposed to fast. If Ramadan came and they did not fast and they don't have any problem, then I should leave Islam.
Leave Islam. We have to move forward.
Yes, Edmond, quickly here. When we talk about, say, drinking, St. Paul wrote somebody, say, because of your sick stomach,
Take a little wine.
take a little wine.
As medicine.
Yes, but some people have interpreted it like that is a blank check. Go and drink. Whereas when it came to marriage, he gave two options.
All right, let's move forward. We can talk about that on another Kenya. This week, a court battle between Talo Oil and Heritage Oil in London broke out the name of President Museveni after Heritage lawyers claim they had information that suggests that Talo contemplated bribing President Museveni and also funded his 2011 campaign in exchange for favors, including lenience on taxes. Now, Talo has denied this. They have even apologized through Adam Heavy, their CEO and founder, to the president for any harm that could have been caused. Now, this is the third time allegations of bribery in the oil sector are coming up, with previous allegations having been made in Parliament against ministers and by the WikiLeaks website. Some people think, Imam Kasozi, that this sector will require high-level transparency so you can avoid this kind of thing. What do you read in this whole saga?
Oil is oil. It's like any other form of wealth.
It floats on the oil.
Or any good that has high quality and value. That's what is expected. So, for me, I'm not surprised. Okay? The onus is on who has made this allegation to prove his case, but what he has also mentioned is not just out of reach, because some instances have occurred in this country where monies have disappeared and people have stood firm. If you can recall a statement by the former vice president over the money for Valley Dams.
Dr. Special.
Yes, she said those who are not seeing,
she dug dams that people
those who are not seeing
are
sinners. And she meant her word, because she had known how the money had been taken. There are so many other allegations that most of the monies that has disappeared in this country has taken a certain route. And more often than not, the office of the president and he has been mentioned, but this time it is because probably people are talking about his person. Two things. Well, it is a big statement, but even the person who has dared to say it is also has a strong heart, because this is the head of state. We're given candidate in court, and two, he is still interested because he knows that tomorrow could serve him, because they are doing business. It is rotating. But why has he mentioned it and why now? So those are the things that I think the court will investigate. And since you have a lawyer with us, he will give us how they follow up some of these circumstances. But the cases of bribery in this country, including where members of parliament were invited and given some money when there was something to debate,
yes,
then
money for fuel.
Yeah, we cannot rule it out completely. Okay? So, but we ask whoever has mentioned this to prove his case. Does he want to win a case, or he has the facts? And if he has, court will ask for them, and when they are presented, then we can move ahead. But what we have seen in other countries, it may happen. I have told you, many of our African nations with oil, they have what we call distorted development.
Yes.
Okay?
The so-called oil curve.
Distorted development.
Dutch disease and
they have a lot of money from oil, but the people living in their cities and their villages go hungry, they have no clean water, but the big money,
the billionaires,
they have millions, and this is what we have witnessed throughout.
That is the oil curve, the so-called oil curve. Dr. David Mushabe, what do you read in this whole cloud of bribe allegations?
Actually, for me, I have wondered why the public has made it a big issue. Simply because, Edmond, if you contemplate giving me a bribe and you don't offer it to me, then that contemplation remains in your brain, in your mind. All the media and all the media has been writing, Talo contemplated bribing the president. That is their contemplation. Now, they have not said they offered the bribe to the president. That is where the distinction comes in. Now, if they had alleged that they offered the bribe to the president, then I would say then that is the time when we would want to know the president. Okay, then what happened? But they contemplated. At some point, probably they realized it was a bad idea.
So they aren't going to make any money.
Yeah, they realized it was a bad idea. But the burden of proof is on the one, the alleger, not the allegee. The one who alleges,
not the one.
Something. So here, for me, if I was a media advisor or legal advisor to the president, I would say just ignore. The allegation doesn't even deserve any.
Doesn't hold any weight. And we know our president is incorrupt. We said it many times. Yes. Cannot be bribed.
Yes, he says even
especially
Europeans can't bribe me.
Right.
He has said that. But for me, I think we have given
fight among fighters
too much attention for nothing. However, I find the Talo contradicting itself. In UK, evidence has come in saying they contemplated bribing the president. Here, then they are denying and have sent apology to the president. Then why did it come out in UK courts?
Well, it was brought up by someone.
So I think the denial here and apology is for purposes of mending fences with the president and say, please forgive us if we have embarrassed you. We still want to make money. Please don't kick us out. Let's talk
about rebels tonight. Not the ones who are in the bush, but the ones who are in the capital. This week, court ruled that the NRM legislators who had been summoned to appear before the disciplinary committee must submit to the party. They must, which means the party now has more authority to deal with them. These people are accused of being errant and constantly opposing agreed party positions. Now, the NRM party has previously warned them, and they have told them they can be fired, those so-called rebels. Now, some analysts argue that the plan by this group to cause internal reform will not move anywhere, and they have told them if they want, they can form their own political party. Should they form a political party? What should they do, or should they be expelled? Dr. Mushabe.
You're asking whether these gentlemen should form a political party?
What should the party do with them? Should they expel those young men, or should the young men walk out and form their own party?
First of all, I have an issue with a party getting so sensitive when legislators are on the floor of parliament and they debate and they talk as they should. Now, where parties seek now to gag and muzzle its members from saying the truth or discussing matters that touch and concern the whole nation, then I have a problem with that. Then you end up with the party dictatorship, gagging and muzzling its members, seeking to have a general consensus. In seeking to build consensus, you are nursing and nurturing some sort of dictatorship. That is my worry. However, I have had, I don't know whether the media has misreported. I don't think the court ordered them to go and appear before the party disciplinary committee.
Give it to us.
What it was an application of an interim order. An interim order, you are asking court to stop the other guys from calling you, or to stop the other guys from doing what they're about to do and keep the status quo until when the main suit is decided on its merits. Now here, the court said, no, we don't see any reason why we should stop. But they never ordered them to go there. So, they still have the option of saying, we are not going there. This was not a court order for them to appear. No, the court just said, it shied away from stopping the party from disciplining them. They said, so basically, we are not in a position to give such an order.
They're saying that they really need to submit to the party.
Yeah, no, they actually, they threw the ball back at them. It is your choice. You go sort out yourself with the party, but we don't think the court has power and authority to stop the party from disciplining you. So the choice is yours. You either submit to the discipline, or you form your own party, or you just... That I think it was like Pirato, who washed his hands after... I can see the judicial officer who made that decision said, hey guys, sides.
Asking for
Don't
power
put
of
me in your family wrangles and your party wrangles. So let me wash my hands. That is my interpretation.
Very interesting perception.
I think this is a very interesting scenario again in the political history of this country, especially for internal democracy within several political organizations. And it has been with us ever since the days of UPC, okay, where people deliberately know that you have the right thing, but they don't want you to say it just because of their own interests. So, I hope the NRM will not misuse this decision by court so far, and then do certain things
like what
that will throw this country again to jeopardy.
Like what could they do?
No, they can say, if you don't want, get out tomorrow, and that is a new thing in the police. It will not affect the NRM alone. It is going to affect very many political organizations.
You retain your MP's seat.
No, in this case, they did not call her into whatever and then throw her out, because if we are going to submit to the interests of our party only, not for the state. That's why, because these so-called rebel MPs, their biggest issues, all of them, when you look at them on the surface, are appealing because they are national issues, and that's what has brought them into conflict with their own political party.
You don't think these are populist issues? These are genuine.
No! Some of the issues they have raised are not populist. Some of them are not populist. But I told you that in this country, the unfortunate part, we don't have politicians. The majority of the people in this, you see in politics in this country, are position seekers. And the moment they get these positions, they lose. So probably these young men and women, if they wanted to show or tell President Museveni push one of his ideas of patriotism. Okay? But now, people who are struggling to say that everybody should be patriotic, they have introduced it in schools. They are even there is some funding over patriotic associations in every school budget. As I'm coming from, I chair a board of governors. I am a member of 2 boards of governors. As I'm coming from here, I am coming from a board of governors meeting, where career guidance is allocated 1 million, and patriotism again maybe over 1 million shillings. Where the library, which is the core, which is the center of the school activities, okay, is given 5 million, and patriotism is given 3 million in the budget, and that is, it is dictated on these people, and they have looked like that. So the unfortunate part is that I want now to see who are these people will push what their next step. If they are being patriotic and they are sincere to this, let them challenge it further. And if they cannot, then the best option they have is for them to stand on that way and say, what we thought is not this. They go the Kazola way. I have read Kazola's book, and it has opened my mind in many other things. Kazola way? Kazola has written a book, and it says, betrayed by my leader. Yes. Okay? And the things he reveals therein shows that he was a bit stronger, that even when he was in problems and they wanted to seduce him to change, even when they campaigned him, because he revealed certain things that even my former did this to me. So, but if these are strong enough and they are sincere, they are right. I want them to take that strong stand, because we have seen it with the Besides, with the Amaniam Shegas, with so many other people who have said, enough is enough. What we thought is not what we are seeing.
We need to move forward. But before we do, what do you think the NRM party is going to do? And what kind of support they choose to expel them? What will it cost them?
You see, first of all, party membership comes with implied consent to submit to the disciplinary mechanisms and measures of the party, provided that such action which is likely to be taken does not violate is within
national constitution,
within the constitution of the party, and does not violate the national constitution. Now the NRM is in a catch-22. If they expel these guys, they will keep their seats, and they might decide to go independent, join other parties, or start their own parties, and that might break the party further and further. So the party might disintegrate.
They could get followers.
Yes, they might get followers who admire what they are standing for. If they keep them, they might cause disharmony, and it might build more confidence in those who have been quiet but disagreeing with the party leadership. So it is a catch-22. Either way you look at it, there is loss.
The other way, you. Well,
it is a lose-lose situation.
All right, let's move forward. Of course, there are many questions. We can't really get to the bottom of that. It's a broad thing, and some of the things we're talking about are basically, let's talk about the death of Chinua Achebe, renowned Nigerian author. He died. He wrote the renowned Things Fall Apart novel. It's a much heralded book, but he also
has been locally been translated in the Uganda language.
I didn't know about it. I've not heard about that. Well, he wrote many books. He died today, aged 82, in Boston, of the US of A. We still don't know what killed him, but what legacy does he leave behind?
First of all, my condolences, because he's one of those writers I admired when I read his books. It's those that I read when I was still a student, and some of his writings were really inspiring. It is a great loss, but at 82, I don't say it is it is too much, because very few people in Africa live to this age, and therefore I don't want to say like they have not known what is his death is normal. It is the real death that has occurred to him. His time has come. He has gone. The legacy he leaves behind is his strong points that he saw what colonialism came with, okay, and how it changed the behavior and the reactions and the beliefs of some of the African people. But when I go back and look at some of his writings, Things Fall Apart, No Longer Is, Hour of God, so no, not Hour of God, Man of the People, something like that. So, and that statement he starts with in his book Things Fall Apart, turning and turning the widening again. You see?
Yes.
See, now Things Fall Apart.
Already many years ago, maybe almost 30 years.
So what it teaches us is that I think he has died some respectable person. That legacy lives it.
Right.
Two, he has a foundation for African literature.
He inspired a whole generation of writers.
Yes.
Could very easily have been inspired by Things Fall Apart, by Chinua Achebe. He wanted to win the literature prize, the Nobel Literature Prize. How come this man never won the literature prize, the Nobel Literature Prize?
No, it depends on what somebody was writing about.
Yes.
What you are writing about, and the context in which you bring it up, and the interests, and who awarded there's what. So if you see the personality of, like for example, Okonkwo,
yes,
in his book and what he stood for, no white man will generally give him this reward, because he exposed the hypocrisy that the white man had come along with.
Dr. David Mushabe, did this man get his due?
Yeah, I think so, because you see, currently, we don't have writers. We don't have genuine writers. Why? Because we are money-driven. We try to serve civil interests. The pioneers in Africa, the initial writers, they thought about the whole of Africa. They were selfless even in their thinking. They sought to transform the thinking of the Africans and emancipate them from slave mentality. And these gentlemen came up at the time when Africa was struggling for freedom to get their independence. But right now, I think we have hit a snag. Every writer that comes up, if he becomes so critical of the establishment, he's quickly compromised and he keeps quiet. So bread and butter supersede the interests of posterity.
Like who?
I'm not going to mention names.
No, you can tell us.
But I think he was a role model, Chinua Achebe. Right now, we can comfortably say that he was a role model. There is one wise man who said that as long as he still lived, he cannot count himself or consider himself a role model, because he's still a human being who can make mistakes any time, and he falls away from grace. So now we can
let's know some names of some peers, some African peers, from East Africa, Uganda and Kenya. What kind of names would you have? What people like Godfrey Kalimgogo, Charles Mangwa from Kenya, Tabanlo Leong, I believe Ngugi wa Thiong'o. So we had some peers, some people who picked up from him. They were in the African Writers series.
Yes. And even here in East Africa, we had some professors, the Mahmudanis, the
Mahmudani was probably not in that genre. He was more of a think and academic. But these were actually writers. They were prolific. Tabanlo Leong, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Charles Mangwa, he wrote a hilarious book, Son of Woman. Godfrey Kalimgogo, he wrote another book, I forget his title. So some of these were some people.
We had a Ugandan who wrote a Song of Lawino, Song of Pibitek. Yes. So these are men who
he inspired a generation. He lived his life well.
Exactly.
He can go and rest
these days. We have no intellectual who can inspire us. Oh, that is the problem.
Why do you make such a statement? We have many people. Some of them.
Tell me how many intellectuals are these current universities that are inspiring us?
You see, the problem is we have run away from what should be, and interests has taken over the place of principle.
We have to go. Interest taken over the place of principle. We have to go. Thank you very much, dear guests. Imam Kasozi, Muslim cleric and lecturer at Islamic University in Uganda. Thank you for coming today. Dr. David Mushabe, senior partner at the Mushabe Munungu and Company Advocates. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. Have a very good weekend. Up next door is the news in the English language.
Thank you, Edmond.